you wouldn't have known her. You'd have seen her everywhere at once. In a hotel, in a street, in a train, in a bar, in a book, in a film, in yourself, your inmost self, when your sex grow erect in the night, seeking somewhere to put itself, somewhere to shed its load of tears. You may have paid her, may have said, I want you to come every night for a few days. You say you want to try it, try to know, to get used to that body, those breasts, that scent, to beauty, to the risk of having children implicit in that body, to that hairless and muscular body, that face, that naked skin, to the identity between that skin and the life it contains. You say you want to try for several days, perhaps for several weeks, perhaps even for your whole life. Try what, she asks. Loving, you answer. Sometimes you weep. Sometimes you go out on the terrace in the growing cold. You don't know what's in the sleep of the girl on the bed. You'd like to start from that body and get back to the bodies of others, to your own, to get back to yourself. And yet, it's because you must do this that you weep. And she in the room sleeps on, sleeps, and you don't wake her. As her sleep goes on, sorrow grows in the room. You sleep once on the floor at the foot of her bed. She goes on sleeping evenly, so deeply she sometimes smiles. She wakes only if you touch her body, the breasts, the eyes. Sometimes she wakes for no reason, except to ask if the noise is the wind or high tide. Strangely, her breasts are brown, the areolas almost black. You eat them, drink them, and nothing in her body flinches. She offers no resistance, none. Perhaps at one point you cry out again. Another time, you tell her to say a word. Just one. The one that's your name. You tell her what it is. She doesn't answer. And you cry out again. And it's then she smiles.
And it's then you know she's alive. The hand and the eyes, the curve of the belly and the face, the breasts and the sex, the legs and the arms, the breath, the heart, the temples and thighs.
You go out again onto the terrace, facing the Black Sea. It occurs to you that the Black Sea is moving instead of something else, of you, now of the dark shape on the bed. You finish your sentence. You tell yourself that if now, and this hour of the night, she died, it would be easier for you to make her disappear off the face of the earth, to throw her into the black water. It would only take a few minutes to throw a body as light as that into the rising tide, and free the bed of the stench of heliotropy inside drum.
You come back into the room. She hasn't moved. In the white expanse of the sheets, you look at her, whom you've never approached, ever, either through others like her, or through herself. You look at the shape suspected through the ages. You give up. You stop looking. Stop looking at anything. You shut your eyes so as to get back into your difference, your death. When you open your eyes, she's still there. Still there. You go back towards the alien body. It's sleeping. You look at the malady of your life, the malady of death. It's on her sleeping body, that you look at it. You look at the different places on the body, at the face, the breasts, the mingled side of the sex. You look at where the heart is. The beat seems different, more distant. The word occurs to you, more alien. It's regular. It seems as if it would never stop. You bring your body close to the object that is her body. It's warm, moist. She's still alive. While she lives, she invites murder. You wonder how to kill her, and who will. You don't love anything or anyone. You don't even love the difference you think you embody. All you know is the grace of the bodies of the dead, the grace of those like yourself. Suddenly you see the difference between the grace of the bodies of the dead and this grace here, this royalty, made of utmost weakness, which could be crushed by the merest gesture. You realize it's here, in her, that the malady of death is fermenting, that it's this shape stretched out before you that decrees the malady of death. You listen to the sea. It's very close to the walls of the room. Through the windows, out colorless light still. The slowness of the day to spread over the sky. The black sea still. The sleeping body. The stranger in the room. And then you do it. I couldn't say why. I see you do it without knowing why. You could go out of the room and leave the body, the sleeping form, but no, you do it, apparently as another would, but with the complete difference that separates you from her. You do it. You go back towards the body. You cover it completely with your own. You draw it towards you so as not to crush it with your strength, so as not to kill it. And then you do it. You return to the nightly dwelling. You are engulfed. You stay on in that abode. You go on weeping. You think you know not what. You can't go through with that knowledge. You think you alone are the image of the world's womb, of a spatial fate. You think you're the master of the event now taking place. You think it exists. She sleeps, a smile on her lips, fit to be killed. You stay on in the abode of her body. She's full of you as she sleeps. The faintly voiced tremors that go through the body become more and more marked. She's in a dream of happiness, at being full of a man, full of you, or full of somebody else, or of somebody else again. You weep. She goes back to sleep. You ask her why she sleeps, what weariness she has to rest from, what monumental weariness. She lifts her hand and strokes your face again, the mouth perhaps. She smiles ironically again in her sleep. She says the fact that you ask the question proves you can't understand. She says it's a way of resting from you, from death. You go on with the story about the child, cry it out loud. You say you don't know the whole of the story about him, about you. You say you've been told it. She smiles, says she has heard and read it too often, everywhere, in a number of books. You ask how loving can happen, the emotion of loving. She answers, perhaps, a sudden lapse in the logic of the universe. She says, through a mistake, for instance. She says, never through an act of will. You ask, could the emotion of loving come from other things too? You beg her to say. She says, it can come from anything, from the flight of a night bird, from a sleep, from a dream of sleep, from the approach of death, from a word, from a crime, of itself, from oneself, often without knowing how. She says, look. She parts her legs, and in the hollow between you see the dark night at last. You say, it was there. The dark night, it's there. She says, come. You do. Having entered her, You go on weeping. She says, don't cry anymore. She says, take me. So it may have been done. You do so. You take her. It is done. She goes back to sleep.
She never come back. The evening after she goes, you tell the story of the affair in a bar. At first you tell it as if it were possible to do so. Then you give up. Then you tell it laughing, as if it were impossible for it to have happened, or possible for you to have invented it. The next day, suddenly, perhaps you notice her absence in the room. The next day, you perhaps feel a desire to see her there again, in the strangeness of your solitude, as a stranger herself. Perhaps you'd look for her outside your room, on the beaches, outside cafes, in the streets. But you wouldn't be able to find her, because in the light of day, you can't recognize anyone. You wouldn't recognize her. All you know of her is her sleeping body beneath her shut or half-shut eyes. The penetration of one body by another, that you can't recognize. Ever. You couldn't ever. All you remember of the whole affair are certain words she said in her sleep, the ones that tell you what's wrong with you, the malady of death. Soon you give up, don't look for her anymore, either in the town, or at night, or in the daytime. Even so, you have managed to live that long, in the only way possible for you, losing it before it happened.
Malady of death could be staged in the theatre. The young woman of the paid nights should be lying on some white sheets in the middle of the stage. She might be naked. A man would walk back and forth around her, telling the story. Only the woman would speak her lines from memory. The man never would. He would read the text, either standing still or walking about around the young woman. The man the story is about would never appear. Even when he speaks to the young woman, he does so only through the man who reads the story. Acting is replaced here by reading. I always think nothing can replace the reading of a text, that no acting can ever equal the effect of a text not memorized. So the two actors should speak as if they were reading the text in separate rooms, isolated from one another. The text would be completely nullified if it were spoken theatrically.